The novel is called Death Strikes Back. It had just gone midnight when the peace and tranquility of St. Benedict's Monastery was suddenly shattered by the sounds of someone frantically banging on the main outer door. The small community of brothers had long retired to bed for the night, but even the heaviest of sleepers were woken up by the noisy rattlet, echoing as it did through the winding, draughty passages of the ancient monastery. Brother James pushed back his bedcovers and sat up, rubbing his eyes. Blinking away sleep, he turned on his bedside light and looked at the clock. 12:02, the red digital numbers informed him. The monastery were used to having callers now and again, but tucked away and hidden deep in the heart of the Dorset countryside, it was a very rare event and had never occurred at this late hour before. So it was with some apprehension that he rose from the warmth and comfort of his bed to face whoever was causing such a commotion. Putting on his outer robe and slipping his feet into old worn sandals, he left his cell and strode anxiously towards the main door of the monastery. Following close on his heels were brothers Luke and Peter, two portly men in their late 60s, concern etched on their faces. "Who on earth could it be at this late hour?" whispered Brother Peter, hesitantly, aware that he was breaking the rigid vows of night silence. Breaking that vow was only permitted in exceptional circumstances, like these, he reassured himself. The hammering hadn't abated. If anything, it had become even louder, more persistent. As they approached the entrance, they began to hear sounds of someone calling out in obvious distress. Peering through the spy hole in the door, Brother James could see the figure of a highly agitated man, although his features were hidden in the gloom of the night. The heavy cast iron door knocker was being rammed again and again, and a man's voice pleaded, "Please let me in. I have nowhere to go. Help me, please. I just can't take any more." The voice began to peter out, and sounds of muffled sobs could be heard. Woken by the commotion, more of the brotherhood had now assembled. Still half asleep, they clustered together within the chilly inner vestibule, looking anxiously towards the door, yet remaining silent. Brother James slowly drew back the sturdy bolts, and turning a weighty brass key, the door unlocked with an audible click. Grasping the handle, he slowly pulled it open. The lights from within the vestibule shone out onto weathered flagstones to reveal a young man shivering and clutching a small holdall. Unshaven and with unkempt matted hair, he wore a thin, grimy coat, very obviously the worse for wear. He looked completely exhausted. Brother James stretched out his arms in welcome. "Come in, please, and let's see how we can help you." "I'm so sorry to wake you, but I didn't know what else to do," the stranger blurted out. All eyes were upon him as the young man wearily stepped inside. Closing the door behind him, Brother James smiled at the stranger reassuringly. "Come this way, my friend, and do not be afraid. Whatever plight you are in, we will do our very best to help you." "Thank you," said the stranger with a warm smile. Suddenly he went very pale and reeled as if he were about to pass out. Brother James and Peter quickly supported him on either side, whilst relieving him of his holding. "We'll go to the chapter house," said James. Turning to the assembled monks still standing in the hallway, he said, "Thank you, brothers, but we can manage now. We don't want to overwhelm our guests, so I suggest you all go back to bed and get some rest." They nodded and dutifully obliged, returning silently to their cells. The monastery rule for admitting those who called upon them was unequivocal and flashed through their minds. "I came as a guest and you received me. Let all guests who arrive be received like Christ, and let all due honour be shown," as Matthew chapter 25, verse 5 stated. "Do you think we should wake up Abbot Benedict?" asked Peter, clearly anxious at this unprecedented event. "No, not at this stage," replied James. "There's no point in disturbing him at this hour. We'll leave it until the morning, when hopefully we'll have a better picture of this troubled man's situation." The stranger's head was now bowed, and he made no eye contact with them. It was almost as if he were ashamed. The chapter house lay within the monastery, a place where the monks met every day to discuss business and be reminded of their strict monastic rules as they listened to readings from regular Benedicti. It was the most appropriate and obvious choice in which to take any guest, invited or uninvited. They walked slowly towards the east wing of the cloister, arriving at the magnificent entrance to the chapter house. The portal was a door with an elaborate facade, Trails of highly decorated archivolts adorned the arched doorway in a ribbon of tiny exquisite sculptures. On either side of the portal were carved figures of the 12 apostles. As they entered the chapter house, a stranger, who had not spoken a word since being welcomed into the monastery, gasped as he took in the magnificent room before him, exclaiming, "I'm truly in the house of God." The vaulted ceiling with its lofty Romanesque arches added to the beauty of the chapter house. Spectacular stained glass windows, painted frescoes and many striking artworks graced the room. Moonlight flooded in through one of the stained glass windows, casting muted patterns and irregular soft shadows on the thick stone walls. A large fireplace still had remnants of red glowing embers. Brother Peter added more wood from the pile of logs stacked against the hearth, and the fire began to crackle back to life again. As was the Benedictine custom, and before officially receiving any visitor, prayers were said, and so Brother James led them towards the altar, kneeling down before it. It was only after prayers, and when the stranger had been given something to eat, made comfortable and warm, that he began to relay his sad story. Unravelling his troubled past piece by piece, the two brothers sat quietly, listening well into the small hours of the night. To be continued.